From the center of the galaxy, this is ForceCenter, a show about Star Wars pop culture and the ultimate adventure, life itself. I'm Ken Napslock.
And I'm Jen Landa.
And we are here for another edition, the 159th, if you're counting like I should have been a while ago, of Star Wars Rank. This is the show where, as the title suggests, we're going to rank Star Wars. It's not a definitive list, it's our list. Much like our other show, Subjective Wars, it's a subjective opinion. But often that can be treated as fact. And I'll be honest, I treat my own Star Wars opinions like facts. So, Jen, we're here for a serious discussion about Star Wars monsters.
That's right. And if we disagree, I'm going to try and pull you to my side because my opinions are facts.
My opinions are facts. Your opinions are facts. This is a Star Wars tug of war now. We are going to work together. If you've been listening to Star Wars Ranked over the years here on ForceCenter, it used to be that every guest would, including me, would have our own top 5 list of the topic, some runners up, and we go through it. Kind of changing the format here a little bit. We have some choices already out there for us. Jen and I have those choices in front of us, like a little draft pool. We're drafting a team almost, but we're going to work together to come to a top 5 list, and we've got a great one here, Jen. If you're ready to dive in, we're going to talk about Star Wars monsters. Oh, you know what? I'm not ready to dive in yet.
Why?
This came about, Jen, because we did the Star Wars Ranked last time out, which was our favorite Star Wars creatures. In putting that episode together, I kind of realized, pitched the idea to you. I think you kind of came to the same idea or the same thought that creatures and monsters in Star Wars should be divided a bit. We can't have a Porg battling a Rancor. We can in our old show Databank Brawl, but we can't have it battling in a competition. Cute versus growly. I don't know. Versus scary.
Yeah.
We wanted to divide it up, divide the pie up, and here we are today, Jed, with some big Star Wars monsters. So maybe a quick overall thought from you on creatures, monsters, and your overall thoughts on monsters in Star Wars.
Right. Like their overall classification is, yes, they are creatures, right? And we know that there's aliens in Star Wars. These are the creatures. However, I feel like there is a very clear distinction within these creatures. Monsters versus cute things I want to have in my home. And the cute things will always win in a battle between the two. So the monsters deserve their own category for sure.
I agree, and we're going to dive right into this list. And here's the thing. Look, we're putting together top 5. There's some classic monsters that I don't know where I'm leaning. I think I knew where I was leaning more in the creatures discussion. I knew what I wanted to get on the board, but there's some classic Star Wars monsters, Jen, that it's kind of like they're the answer in a lot of ways. So, but we'll see. I think the discussion today we'll see if we have any wild cards that make their way up the list. All right. Are you ready for me to throw the list out for the world to see in here?
Yes. Yes, let's do it.
All right. Here's some monsters we are trying to choose from to make our top 5 list. The Rancor. It's literally in the name, the Rancor monster. The Wampa. You and I probably want to hang out with Wampas. I still got my Wampa plush here. I'm ready to hang out with Wampas, but they're monsters. Then we go to the Petronaki Arena, Attack of the Clones. We got the Acklay, Nexu, Reek. We love that sequence here, so they're there. Gundark. Look, we finally got to see what a Gundark is and why it's kind of hard to rip the arms off of Gundark. In Bad Batch, we learned something about the Dryax or the Dryax. I don't know how you want to say it. It was there. Roars like a T-Rex. Jen, you made some great notes for me, and I love the idea that it roars like a T-Rex. We also got the Howler. Ice spiders going to Mandalorian, which I both love, and they freak me out so much. I'm not super afraid of spiders anymore in my life. I used to be. I'm not so much anymore because it's my job in the house to get rid of the spiders. But there's something about those ice spiders. The Mudhorn, which is presented as a monster, but you and I, Jen, we've talked about the Mudhorn on other times where it was just sleep and protected its egg.
Yeah, it's harmless.
It's harmless. We had asked for you all on Blue Sky to give us some of your favorite creatures or monsters in Star Wars. And we had Matt K on Blue Sky gave us a great wild card choice from the Caravan of Courage and Forces of Destiny, the Gorax. Jen, that's going to be an interesting. That one I hadn't thought about till late in the game, but I do like that. Then we had also on Blue Sky, Look to a Luna says, hey, how about the multiple kaiju under Naboo? I feel like nobody talks about them down there. We love the creatures down near the planet core on Naboo, the Opie sea killer, the Colo clawfish, which was also a great snack for Dryden Voss, and the Sando aqua monster. They're on the list as well, Jen. Rathtars from The Force Awakens, the Ravenik from Mandalorian Chapter 1. That was one of the first things we saw in The Mandalorian, and it still stands out to me. The Vexus from Rise of Skywalker is on the list as well. And then, you know what, Jen? I didn't think about this one until I saw it on the databank on StarWars.com. You know, the Sarlacc pit is a must.
See, this already, I'm like, well, I already know my list. And it's hard because some of these I feel like are the blueprint for other monsters. And so it's like, do I want to go with the blueprint or the newer version? I'm torn already.
Yeah, I get it. Look, I'm a Beatles fan and I'm an Oasis fan. Like, do I want to go for the blueprint or the one that came in the 90s? Like, what do I want to go with?
That's literally it.
There's
these monsters in the 90s.
I'm looking at this, and to those out there, like, if they don't make the top 5, consider them our runners up. And there might be other ones out there. You might have some monsters that you want to have discussed. So if they don't make the show today, we'd love to have you comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, hit that like bell. If you're listening on the podcast, reach out on social media. We'll tell you afterwards where to find us, and you can register your opinions and treat them as fact with us as well. So, Jen, we're going to start with your number 5. I'm looking over the list. I don't even know where I'm going. I'm going to pitch number 4. What are you going to pitch for 5?
Here's the thing. I backed myself into a corner last episode with my wild pick. I don't want that to happen again. But I also am worried that you're not going to pick some of my monsters, my beasties. So I want to make sure that they're on there. So where do I put it? This is truly like answering your favorite band question, where you're like, all right, well, I'll say what people want me to say, but if I don't say Semisonic, then people don't know I love Semisonic, the great pop trio from Minnesota. I got to put them in the list. I understand. So we'll see. Right. Because I don't want, I have a pick, but if I name it, I don't want people to be like, you put that at number 5? It's not number 5 in my heart. But in this scenario, I may just have to get it on the board. But you may have it too.
Look, go with your heart. Go with your heart.
No.
There's a lot of great options here. Here's the thing. We can't lose, Jen. We can't lose.
Okay. I kind of want to go with the gorax, but here's why I'm not going to. Okay. Because not enough people know what the gorax, what it is. Not enough people have seen Caravan Courage, and that is on us, Ken, as Ewok fans. We have not spread the wonderful news of Caravan of Courage, and also that it was also in Forces of Destiny. We should also point out the gorax.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I'm hanging out with my friend Jen Miro today, who wrote that episode. I should ask her about the gorax there later on. All right, I haven't heard your choice yet, Jen.
Okay,
but I'm already countering your choice. I'm countering your choice because I got to tell you, I didn't think about it till Matt Kay put it on Blue Sky. I think the gorax would make my list.
Oh,
so if you want to put it at 5, I'm okay with that. It's a negotiation. Okay. It's your choice to put out there to nominate. But
no.
Okay.
No, I'm not doing it.
You're not doing it.
I'm betting. I'm betting that you and I are going to be simpatico about some of these other choices that I have.
Okay.
I'm going to go with the newer one.
Okay.
So I'm torn. I love the ice spiders, but they're too real world, with the exception of their crazy mouth. I like the Attack of the Clones ones. Of those, I find the acklay to be the most terrifying. I think.
Yeah.
But I also like the dry axe from Bad Batch. The way that scene is lit is terrifying. I don't care that it's animation. If I had seen that when I was a kid, I would have been having nightmares for days. So, oh no, Ken, this is bad. I can't decide.
Look, this is it. This is, you're good. What do you got? You got some great choices.
Okay, can you help me? Like,
gorax?
How do you
like
have gorax?
Well, here's my case. Here's my case for the gorax for 5. But I don't want you to listen to me here. Okay. But the gorax for 5 is It's outside. It's I call it canon. It's canon, but for a long while I'd say canon adjacent. But it was almost like a dream. The gorax was so, and I was a scaredy cat kid. I get scared easily. I don't watch horror films. I don't watch that. It scared the crap out of me as a kid, and I almost to the point where I put it behind me. And was like, I can't even imagine that was real. It was worse than the Rancor for me. Like it just the image of it in the show, and it's giant, and you don't. And then I kind of like, was that thing hiding there the entire time during Return of the Jedi? Like, oh my god, what if it got Han and Leia and Luke? I just was in my head about it. So it's a great creature. It is an outside the box choice. If we failed, Jen, this might be our chance to rectify that. But I love your option of the Dryax. I think it's absolutely great. The red eyes, the design, the look of it. It reminds me of when I was scared of werewolves in the movie Silver Bullet in 1985. That's there. But then you got the acklay, and I think I agree with you. Of all the Petronaki Arena creatures or monsters, I should say, the Nexu and Reek aren't as terrifying as the acklay. That's like old school sci-fi tiny man fighting big crab monster, and it's so pulpy and it's so good, and it's always stood out to me. In your notes, by the way, what I love here is I shared a Google Doc. Jen, behind the scenes, Jen didn't know it was a Google Doc that we were sharing, so her notes are in it, and there's some amazing notes where it just says scary screech. How is Kenobi gonna kill him? And that's how is Kenobi gonna kill him? It's terrifying.
Praying mantis / crab. That was how I could remember. Oh gosh.
Well, what I also love about your notes is for the howler from Ahsoka. You said the way its tongue sticks out when it pants makes it too cute, and I agree with that. I was gonna maybe put the howler on there somewhere, but I'm like, no, it's too cute. It pants like a doggy. I can't. All right, so those I agree. Mind. Those for the ones you put out there, I agree with all of them. You just got to choose. It's the rules.
Okay. You helped me make my decision because I remembered not necessarily my experience, but my kids' experience when I had them watch Caravan of Courage. And let me tell you, when the Gorax came, they were scared. Like, even though you can tell them this is not real, this is, whatever, it is terrifying. And that's like the image of like the big, giant, and how are you going to defeat it? That's a storytelling thing that we've had for generations, right?
Yeah.
So for that, because it's still as ridiculous as it looks to us, it still terrifies kids. I'm putting the Gorax at number 5.
Gorax at number 5. I love it. Matt K out there, thanks for that suggestion on Blue Sky. I don't think I would have remembered to put this on this list here for choices, but I agree with you. In terms of Star Wars monsters, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you on that there. Gorax at number 5 works for me.
Okay, good. Okay, now you're number 4. Let's see.
Yes, my number 4. And by the way, I also want to say something here too. We didn't include the Zillo Beast. And
right.
it just occurred to me. But I'm going to make a game time decision that I'm almost taking the Zillo Beast out of contention, because that is not a monster. That was something that was turned into a monster, but this is situation around it. I'm gonna say, Jen, the Zillo Beast it's a Hall of Fame character. It is a monster by classic definition, but it is a monster with a heart of gold, and I don't want it on this list. I don't want to sully the Zillo Beast with that reputation. It's its own thing. It's its own thing.
I like it. All right. Yeah,
I love it. I just realized too. I don't know if I felt like a politician there, but I just realized I forgot to put that on the list. So I don't want anyone to yell at us. Zillo Beast is in the Hall of Fame. We can't compete with it. All right. My number 4 choice here, we had, like you said, Jen, we have a lot. And sometimes it's like, is there recency bias? Like, I really do love the Ravenek. I think it's one of my favorite little sequences in Mandalorian. It's one of the first ones we even really saw. I mean, to watch Brian Posehn killed by a Ravenek was, as a stand-up comic, was horrifying for me to watch there. Ice spiders as well are something that stand out. I could easily go with the acklay, but I'm gonna go to something that I've been scared and obsessed with since I was a kid, and my obsession only grew as we started to learn more about what it is. And I'm talking, and again, I grew up in Pismo Beach, California. We'd go to the beach all the time. Not a beach kid. I don't like going in the ocean. I boogie boarded once. I played in the sand dunes, Jen. I played with the sand dunes. And I was always terrified at 7 or 8 years of age as I walked through the sand dunes with my parents that I would come upon a sarlac pit. It's one of the most terrifying images in Star Wars. A hole in the ground that could eat you. Terrified. And then to learn more of it as you start getting some of the encyclopedias and further information, or even if you go to Galaxy's Edge, I have a picture on my phone still where they have the little baby sarlacc on display there. And once you kind of learn what's down there and the design of it and like how it gets there and all those things, I'm not worried about that. I'm just like, it's terrifying. And then in some video games, I think Star Wars Unleashed, you go into one, and that's not probably an accurate depiction of them now, but that was terrifying. But then the Book of Boba Fett begins where I think we all thought the show should begin, and it did, with Boba Fett inside the pit. And just to spend time, it's terrifying. Everything about it is terrifying. If we're talking about monsters that kind of leave a mark on your soul, the fact that I'm not 7, 8 years of age, would crest a sand dune and hope that there wasn't a sarlacc pit on the other side of it in Pismo Beach, California, that terrified me. That's a lasting kind of terror. So number 4 for me is the sarlacc pit.
100%. It holds up. It is terrifying. I had an irrational fear of quicksand as a child, and that to me is like, it's like quicksand. And then it just is like, it's like claustrophobic, and just knowing that you would be digested for however long.
1,000 years?
No, thank you. Yeah, no, thank you. So that is, well, yes, number 4. I'm so glad you picked it.
The sarlacc pit, and all versions. I like the special edition version, what I called the Little Shop of Horrors version for years. It wasn't my favorite at the time in '97 of all the things George did. I was like, I could live without that. I still could live without that, but I will say the Book of Boba Fett as well, when he returns to the sarlacc to drop the charges in it because Boba Fett's petty, if any other thing, he's petty. I love that sequence, and it made me go, you know what? The beak is terrifying now. It's part of it for me, but I'll take any version of the Sarlacc pit at number 4.
The beak. Oh, I remember all the discussions about the beak. Yes. No, but it still is terrifying. Oh,
it is.
Good number 4.
It is a number 4. It is a classic, but man, the list is getting smaller, and the choices are getting bigger, Jen. What's your number 3 here? I
know what I want from my 2 picks. So I've got to put one of them on the board, but you may have it as well, which may put you. Okay. All right. I'm going to say, again, number 3 is not indicative of where it is in my heart. I feel like it could be higher, but I just want to make sure.
Okay. This is a draft board thing. You're like best player available to talking sports again. I've been doing a lot of that lately. But you're like, I got to get this. We don't want another team to not pick him, or in this case, leave him off the board. So, okay, I follow you.
I'm sure that this would probably be one of your picks. So I'm sorry if this was your number 2. The wampa. We have to have the wampa on this list. That is the abominable snowman, Yeti, whatever it is, right? Like when Matterhorn, when my kids saw that, they were like, is that the creature from Star Wars? And I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But it's terrifying. Look,
it's terrifying.
Even the Matterhorn's terrifying in the center. Yeah. It's the same when you pass by it, you're like, oh God, can you imagine being Luke in that cave?
Can you imagine? I just always have been terrified by it. It is a classic beast, a classic monster. I was going to bring my action figure that I have that is like yellow. It is like really yellow.
There we go.
But just
look, he's terrified.
Like it.
That's a terrifying, terrifying thing.
This like Bigfoot type creature. It's scary, right?
It's scary.
It's not. Yeah, it's like with the claws and.
I think your choice to put it number 3, it could easily be number 2. It might have. But I got the same thing going you have, Jen, where I'm like, I think this might be on Jen's list, but I gotta represent it. But this is the fun challenge of doing Star Wars Rank like this. I think 3 is perfect for Wampa. we've been talking a lot about the difference between Star Wars creatures and Star Wars monsters is often how they're presented, and I think the Wampa is presented as, the abominable snowman. It's presented as a monster, kills that poor Tauntaun. It's about to, chow down on Luke. So it's a monster. But I also think it's just circumstance. It's hunting. It's eating. You're in its home. You're its dinner, and the dinner struck back. So I that's why I think I've become obsessed with them over the years. This is one of many pieces of Wampa memorabilia and merchandise I have, just because I think I love the Wampas. They wouldn't want to love me. I don't want to try to domesticate a Wampa and take it out of its natural habitat. That'd be cruel. I wouldn't want to see one at a zoo, and I love going to zoos, even though some zoos do have problematic elements, I understand. But I love zoos, but I wouldn't want to see a poor Wampa there. So, Jed, it is a monster. It's a classic monster. It scared many for generations. It will scare many in generations to come. But it's just trying to live its life. So number 3 is perfect for me.
Okay, good. Good. Right. I'm glad.
Okay.
Oh, boy. Okay. Here we go. Here we go.
Yeah, see, here's
number
the problem.
2.
Number 2.
Yep.
There's some classics on the board. There's some absolute classics on the board, but I think I'm gonna put a little faith out there that you're gonna get there. That you're gonna get there. There's some close. We'll see. All right. So like Rathtar could be on the list. I've never been a huge fan of the sequence. I've talked about that over the years. Where I love there's some great Han stuff there. Some of my favorite Han stuff from Force Awakens. The Rathtar chase, everything, it didn't grab me. But over the years, I think I've come to a different spot with that. Joseph and I have talked about that. 10 years on, I'm less worried about the design of the Rathtar, how it looked on screen, where I was in 2015. So that's a possibility there. Ice Spiders, I keep going back to because, as you said in your notes, gives me the creeps. It's such a great sequence with that little monster Grogu eating more eggs. He's a little monster, stealing cookies and eating eggs, and then he bleeps around and finds out when all the ice spiders come out there. So that's on there as well. I'm going back to the acklay as a possibility there too. But I gotta, man, this might be. I don't know if this belongs number 2, Jen. This might upset some folks, but I really got to say, I do love the. It's torn between the OPC killer, the Sando Aqua monster. We spend so little time with them, but I absolutely think it's possible. So I'm not putting that out there yet. I just maybe this. I just want to sneak them in as an honorable mention. But I'm gonna. I love the sequence. Always a bigger fish, and it ends with the Sando Aqua monster that has clearly been curling in the weight room, like doing some bicep work. A lot of stuff going on there. But as I'm talking, Jed, I got to go back to the original conversation up top of the show here. We're talking Star Wars monsters, memorable monsters, things that I love. I'm gonna go acklay. I'm going back. I'm reversing.
Oh, okay.
I'm pitching back to the quarterback, and we're throwing to an open receiver down the. I'm going acklay at number 2, unless you want to talk me out of it, or there's some other options. The more we talk about it, I love that sequence. I love the 3 monsters. You got the Reek. The Mudhorn always kind of reminded me of the Reek, so that's kind of a wash. The Nexu. Look, the Nexus could be tamed. It could be domesticated. It's got that tiger. It's tiger-like with a rat tail, as you said. Also, I don't want to give Nexu too much credit because it ripped Padme's shirt off like it was 2002. Right. Like we're at a Britney Spears concert. 220. We don't need that Nexu. Times have changed. All right, back off Nexu. I'm going acklay. It is a crab. It is the giant crab and the tiny man on the beach seat. It is a classic pulpy thing. It is a Clash of the Titans kind of vibe. And perfect Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan scene of thinking he's gotten it but doesn't, and then finally has to chop it off the claws. I love that sequence. I've come around on some of the elements of Attack of the Clones that I initially did not gravitate towards in 2002, and this sequence is absolutely one of them. So that's my pick, Jen. I pitch it to you if that's correct, or you have another option.
I like it because I was going to go with the OPC killer when you're talking about it because
Okay.
I'm terrified. I have a real phobia with sharks. I don't
Mm-hmm.
like to go in the water.
Yeah.
So anything in the water, a beast, a monster, just terrifies me naturally. But in terms of design, I think the acklay is really cool. It has that classic monster vibe, like you're talking
Mm-hmm.
about. And it's really scary. I don't care that it looks like a giant crab. That scary screeches I have in my notes, I don't want to hear it. And I really did. I remember sitting in the theater going, "How is he going to defeat this? What's going to happen?" So, yeah.
It's something about crabs, man. Look, the OPC killer just looks like a jumbo shrimp with an attitude. So maybe
Right.
it's a great design.
Right.
And there was one time a neighbor of mine. This is when I was like in my early 20s, still living with my parents, getting ready to move to LA. He was an old school fisherman. Like we're talking yellow slicker hat, gets up at
Oh.
3 a.m, fishes type of guy. And he showed up at our house one day. He had told my mom and dad, I'll bring you some fresh fish or something like that. He brought us also a fresh crab.
Oh.
And I opened the door and he just goes, "Here, I brought this for your dad." And it was 3 feet long
Oh my gosh.
and clacking. And
Oh.
I said no, and he laughed about, you wimpy kid. Like I didn't know, and I refused. Also, I was sad. It was tragic to watch this thing fling for its life. And that's the accolade for me. That is the crab thing where it's just like I have nothing against crabs, but I think they have everything against me. And that's probably the wrong impression. But that's part of my choice there. Part of my choice.
Yeah. They're little pinchers, even at that small size. I don't want to be near it. I don't want to get pinched. Imagine the accolade.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
You do your thing, I'll do my things, crabs. And accolades, I never want to be in that arena. I wouldn't have succeeded where Obi-Wan Kenobi did. All right. But Jed, so far, recapping. Number 5, gorax. Number 4, the sarlac pit or a sarlac. Number 3, a wampa. Just a cute, furry little thing just trying to live its life. 2, the creepy, crabby acklay. But you are here to nominate our number one choice for our favorite Star Wars monsters. I only see one option, but it's not my option to have. So I pitch it to you.
Okay. So going back to my thoughts on the blueprint, there was nothing like the Rancor for me in terms of what is a Star Wars monster. That to me is the epitome of a Star Wars monster. Yeah. Also, the behind the scenes aspect of it is really cool. So that adds to it. And just like it does have those classic elements, of it grabbing Luke, very King Kong like. So there's that part of it too that's fun. But even today, if you watch that and you show kids, as I have shown mine, it's still scary. Again, we know what went into it. We know the behind the scenes. But for my kids, they were like, that is a terrifying monster. In fact, my eldest, when I showed it to her in a book, it was a drawing. I was like, she didn't even want to look at it. There is just something terrifying. And then to get the Rancor tamer, Danny Trejo, right, later on, it's just beautiful. It just speaks to how this monster has resonated with generations of Star Wars fans.
It is the choice. I'm sorry, folks. If you want us to go a lot of people celebrated us choosing the Lothcat as our favorite creature. People love porgs, but it just seemed like it was fait accompli. It was the thing where porgs were going to win, and we chose a wild card there. But I can't here. The Rancor, like you said, Jed, is the blueprint. It's the template. It is not the first movie, obviously, but for me, it was the first movie I saw in theaters. I've spoken often here about how it's terrified me as a kid. It's still kind of terrifying. And the Danny Trejo scene, Book of Boba Fett, is one of my favorite scenes in Star Wars I talk about so much here because it's about, hey, society built it to be a monster, not it. And that can hold true for Wampa and a lot of the creatures here in Star Wars. Definitely the Mudhorn comes to, again, I'm not taking anything away from Din. He did what he had to do. Suka. But the Mudhorn was just minding his own business. But the Rancor is classic. And you bring in the other angle of it here, the behind the scenes stuff. I think one of my regrets is Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. Phil Tippett was sitting outside the hotel I was walking out of just by himself, big long gray beard. And I wanted to go up to him and tell him, thank you. Thank you for all he's done to create this universe that I love, his part in it. But specifically on the Rancor, I don't know if I would have continued to watch Star Wars Return of the Jedi if I didn't learn quickly after my first viewing through behind the scenes clips or little magazine articles I had that there was a man in it. Now, as we know, that ended up not being the case. But for a while, Phil Tippett, they tried. They brought him to set. They put him in a costume. And that, my mom showed me this thing. It's like, see, it's just a guy in a suit. And Phil Tippett being in a suit, even just for a take that wasn't used, allowed me to go, okay, I can watch that scene again knowing there's some guy in there. And it worked. But that's how terrified the Rancor was. But that terror led me to discover some of the magic of Star Wars behind the scenes. So Rancor is my number one choice. And it's the Rancor monster. We're talking about monsters in Star Wars.
That's right. Oh, good. Oh, good. It came together. I wanted to have some newbies on the list, but there is just something about some of these monsters that have been with us for so long. It's really hard. And they just have really permeated our pop culture. Like,
yeah. And look, we could own our original trilogy bias in the sense that a lot of you and I are talking about things that found us when we were young. So this might be a different conversation for those of the prequel generation, of the Clone Wars generation, or even now the modern era. That Ravenik might be the thing that first terrified someone in Star Wars, and you get to experience that with your kids as they get to see Star Wars again for the first time in a way. But yeah, this is it. It's the template conversation, Jed. This set the tone for so much that comes after it. Like the thought that Star Wars is built of lightsabers and ships in space and pew 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 and politics and themes, and along the way, pulpy monsters. It has to be part of it. So I think I stand by our list is what I'm saying.
Yeah. You know, I just remembered we didn't have the Exogorth, the space slug.
The space slug?
Is that, what is that considered a monster?
It's definitely a monster. It's definitely a monster. But I went vertical live, which was what we do here every now and then. I'll bring up my phone and just go live. So subscribe here on YouTube so you don't miss it. Because they're impromptu, and I was talking about monsters versus creatures. Someone did bring up the Exogorth. I forget who, but they pointed out it's a little weird situation because you could live in there, right? You could just the Legend of Luke Skywalker book has him going in there, and it's an ecosystem. It's its own thing. So it is so far beyond. It's not quite where I put the Zillo Beast on its own kind of pedestal. The space slug, the Exogorth, it's definitely a monster. It definitely is presented as a monster. But it's not. It doesn't work the same for me. I'll say this. Maybe people can disagree, and I want to get your thoughts here on it, Jen. The Exogorth is a terrifying sequence, but it's a situation, not the creature for me as a kid.
Yeah, it's like Jonah and the whale.
Yeah.
That's where my mind went.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! But yes, you're right. You're right. It's just living his life.
Yeah,
doing his thing.
The Minox, which some people might want to say is a choice, are almost creatures turned monsters, but they're more terrifying. That scene with Leia looking out the window and the Minox shows up. Jump scare as a kid. But
Still scares me. Still startles me, even though I know it's coming. I'm like, what is this? Come on.
I'm with you. So, hey, look, we've created our list. We stand by it. Our opinions are facts here today, but you can share your factual opinions as well. So any final thoughts, Jen, on our favorite Star Wars monsters?
I'm pleased. I feel confident in our choices. It sits right with me. But I love that there are so many monsters to choose from, and I can't wait to see what monsters we get in Skeleton Crew, because I'm sure that there's going to be lots of monsters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll get to add to this list. That's right. We'll get to revisit this list some point down the line. Thanks for listening, folks, here today on the podcast side or watching here on the YouTube side. You can find us on social media at ForceCenter Pod. We are on Blue Sky. Have a lot of fun over there, both personally and with ForceCenter. So follow us there if you're on Blue Sky. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. Like I said, subscribe, hit that notification bell here. So if we do go live impromptu vertically, you can be part of the conversation. We, of course, also want to highlight that our pal Joseph Scrimshaw, our third head in this trifecta of Star Wars talking, is out making a film right now. You can support him by going to josephscrimshaw.com and find out information how you can still help increase his budget for his film, Dead Media. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/ForceCenter. I'm at Ken Knapsack, or my website, kenknapsack.com. You can link to all things I do there, including my show, Pop Rockin' Radio. I have a weird little ASMR channel called Sports Card ASMR. I work 7 days a week, 13 hours a day, Jen, and it's fun. Where can they find you?
You can find me on Blue Sky at Jennifer Landa, Instagram, same name, and TikTok at Jennifer Landa 1138. And I want to say, I wore my Star Wars Creatures shirt. It doesn't have monsters. Well, it does have some monsters.
Oh, see, yeah. Your list was on there the whole time.
Yeah.
Porgs.
But it has
the monsters.
Creatures. Right, exactly. So, anyways, just had to share that.
There you go.
On YouTube.
There you go. We'll see you next time, everybody. A lot of fun today, but Star Wars has been